Hello everyone. Today I would like to share with you a little-known surprise about one of the most famous geniuses in the history of science, Sir Isaac Newton. Newton is known for his discovery of the law of gravity and calculus, but he actually had a side to him that we never imagined. Come on, let's take a look at Newton's 16 hidden secrets together. 1. Miracle baby born prematurely. Newton was born prematurely on Christmas Day, 1643. He was born so small that it was difficult for him to survive under the medical standards of the time. His mother said that he was the size of an apple. No one expected the baby to survive, but Newton showed strong vitality and grew miraculously. Ironically, it is a wonder of fate that the apple would later change his life. 2. A discreet presence as a student. Perhaps surprisingly, Newton was not an outstanding student during his time at Cambridge University. In fact, his grades were below average. But there was a reason for this. He was not really interested in the university curriculum, but rather pursued his own independent research in the areas that interested him. Even in class, he was often absorbed in his own thoughts. This is something that can be seen in the geniuses of today, isn't it? 3. Hidden talent. Money wizard. Newton was not only a scientist, but also a brilliant financier. In his later years, as director of the Mint of England, he reformed the nation's monetary system and fought forgeries. He considered forgery a serious crime and even went undercover himself. Thanks to Newton's economic policies, the British currency was stabilized and the economy greatly developed. It is amazing that he was a genius in both fields, science and economics. 4. Passion for alchemy. Newton was obsessed with alchemy, which today is considered a pseudoscience. He spent over 20 years exploring how to turn lead into gold. This research was done in secret and not made public until after his death. Why did a scientific genius become obsessed with alchemy? In fact, at that time, alchemy was not just a means of making money, but was considered a means of unlocking the secrets of the universe. Some people believe that this alchemical research led to the later development of chemistry. 5. The true face of a lonely genius. It is said that Newton remained a bachelor all his life and had few close friends. He was not good at socializing and often devoted himself to his research in solitude. At one point, he was so absorbed in his research that he even forgot to eat, and his health suffered. When his assistants visited him in his room, they found Newton sitting in the same position for days on end, not even touching his food. Perhaps the price of genius was loneliness. 6. Amazing diet. Newton's diet was very frugal and sometimes bizarre. He often forgot to eat and only ate when prompted by his assistants. His favorite food was baked apples. He also sometimes fasted for long periods of time. It is said that this was to keep his mind sharp and to immerse himself in deeper thoughts. His genius mind was nourished by this simple diet. 7. A politician. In addition to being a scientist, Newton was also a politician. He once represented Cambridge University in Parliament. However, he spoke in Parliament only once. He only said, "Please close the window." He must have been more passionate about science than politics. Newton was also active as president of the Royal Society, acting as a bridge between the scientific and political worlds. His political influence had a great impact on British science and technology policy, too. 8. Devotion to mysticism. Along with his scientific research, Newton was also dedicated to deciphering biblical prophecy. He spent years trying to discover the codes hidden in the Bible. He was particularly interested in the Book of Daniel and the Book of Revelation, from which he once tried to predict the date of the end of the world. According to his calculations, the end of the world is estimated to be around the year 2060. Perhaps he was trying to fuse these two seemingly opposing fields, science and religion. 9. Extraordinary powers of concentration. Newton's powers of concentration were extraordinary. One day, he was about to go out on horseback, but while reining his horse in, he got lost in thought. When he came to, the horse had left without him. In another episode, he tried to time the boiling of his eggs and accidentally boiled his pocket watch. This extraordinary concentration must have led to his innovative discoveries. 10. Pioneer of color theory. Newton discovered that white light could be broken up into various colors using a prism. This discovery became the foundation of color theory and had a profound influence on later optics and art. In the course of this experiment, however, he put his own eyes at risk. He even risked directly observing the sun, an act that resulted in the temporary loss of his eyesight. It is an example of how passion for science can sometimes be dangerous. 11. The animal-loving side. Perhaps surprisingly, Newton loved animals. He especially loved cats. It is said that he had 2 small holes in his room for cats to go in and out. The big hole was for big cats and the small hole was for kittens. He also had a dog named Diamond. One day, this dog knocked over his research materials and started a fire. Several years' worth of research results were reduced to ashes, but instead of getting angry, Newton simply said sadly, "Oh, Diamond, what have you done?" 12. Amazing linguistic abilities. Newton had not only scientific talent, but also linguistic talent. He mastered Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, and could read ancient texts in their original languages. In particular, he made extraordinary efforts to learn Greek. These language skills were of great use to him in both his scientific and biblical studies. He was truly a genius who transcended the barriers between the humanities and sciences. 13. Mysterious disappearance. In 1693, Newton suddenly suffered a mental crisis and temporarily disappeared. During this period, he sent strange letters to his friends and exhibited paranoid behavior. The truth of this event is still a mystery, but it is believed to have been caused by overwork and mercury poisoning. So even the brain of a genius can sometimes be visited by darkness. 14. An unexpected hobby. Gardening. Newton had an unexpected hobby. It was gardening. He grew a variety of plants in the gardens of Cambridge University. He was particularly enthusiastic about growing apple trees. Perhaps the famous apple falling episode may have been the apples he grew himself. This hobby demonstrates his sensitive observation and attachment to nature. 15. Phenomenal memory. Newton had an extraordinary memory. He was able to memorize complex mathematical formulas and long sentences after seeing them only once. One time, a friend gave him a difficult math problem, and Newton wrote down the solution on the spot. My friend was astonished and asked, "How did you solve it?" Newton replied, "I just stared at it." This extraordinary memory and insight must have been the key to his revolutionary discoveries. 16. The enigmatic research of his later years. Much about the content of Newton's research in his later years is shrouded in mystery. It seems that he was researching something right up to the time of his death, but that his work was burned. According to one theory, it was research on alchemy and prophecy. He was a true inquirer who pursued mysteries to the end. His unpublished research notes may contain insights that even modern science has yet to uncover. How was it? We hope you were surprised by Newton's 16 surprising secrets. Newton was a scientific genius, but at the same time, he had a human side to him. His life is truly legendary. These secrets speak to the complexity and depth of Newton the man. He was a scientist, a mystic, a financier, and at times a solitary thinker. Perhaps it was this multifaceted nature that led to his revolutionary discoveries. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and click the good button. See you next time.